All right, welcome to the monthly movie dispatch, the movie show from friends you can trust. Every week we broadcast and review a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were in high school. We aim to bring you honest conversation on relevant cinema. I'm Derek. I'm here with Brandon,
Yeah, hello.
and tonight we are going to be reviewing Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah. How have you been, Brandon?
been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, got back from California,
Nice. Have you
La
seen?
La Land, Los Angeles.
Nice.
Didn't see any celebrities though.
Oh, everyone's still inside, probably. Huh? Is it mostly open down
Yeah.
there?
I don't think the national law had gone into effect yet.
Oh,
But yeah, it's
you
summer.
can
If you're on the
do
beach,
stuff.
it's all good.
Yeah. Have you gone to the movies at all yet?
Yes, I saw Godzilla vs Kong in
Oh, that's
theater,
right.
but I
Okay.
didn't go to the movies in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I just want to bring this up real quick. We went to um, the AMC last night and saw Back to the Future for Nick's birthday. He rented out a theater,
Oh,
and I haven't
that's
seen that movie in like 15 years, and that was incredible. It was amazing. Felt
just as good as ever.
so it was the best. It was the best time I've ever seen it. Like I've never
Mhm,
appreciated the movie so much. Part of it was probably being in the theater for the first time in like two
mhm.
years, but also on top of that, it's just like it's such an amazing movie from beginning
Perfect
to
adventure film.
yeah. And it was so
Mhm.
funny, so much funnier than I remember it being. And
That's great.
yeah,
That's your
it was
first one
cool.
back? First time back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and he got a good amount of people. There was like almost 20 people in the theater, so it was like everyone was just kind of emulating the theater experience, like
Mhm.
clapping and cheering. And it was just fun.
Nice.
So
That makes it even better.
yeah, it was really good. Makes me really excited to jump into this movie season and actually
Hmm.
get back out there and hopefully go check out Quiet Place this weekend and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Same. Same.
tonight, we're going to start off the podcast by talking a little bit about Zack Snyder. He's been around for quite a while, at least, in our um, lives from the time we kind of started getting into film. He was just kind of breaking out
Yeah.
into the scene. And so,
Exactly. Good point.
yeah.
Literally the year I was probably getting into film, he broke out in the indie scene.
Yeah. And his first movie, Dawn of the Dead, kind of at least like in our group, that it was like the perfect like high school or like right at the beginning of the zombie craze. It was just kind of like I don't know. I know I was just so into that movie at the time. I
Yeah.
remember thinking I was like, this was like one of the best movies I've ever seen. And
It's fun. It had style. It was gory. It was interesting. It wasn't bland. But yeah, it was
yeah,
right around the beginning of this whole zombie craze that we went on the decade after.
yeah. Also written by James Gunn. That was like
Oh,
his big
shit.
break
Yeah.
into Hollywood films.
I'll always remember the way Zack Snyder directed the opening in the suburban town and
Yeah,
her falling into the shower curtain and
yeah.
in the bathtub. It's just so many great experimental shots and the pacing is just wildly energetic.
Mm,
Yeah, he knew what he was doing even back then. It was a crazy breakout.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And it's kind of a departure like from that genre because it was kind of I don't really know if anyone had done like the fast zombie, like the
Hmm.
running. 28 Days Later was around the same time too, which I think they did running zombies.
Hmm.
And his movie Army of the Dead kind of brings that back too. We'll get back into that. But what? So he's kind of a controversial director.
Yeah.
Um,
People
not
love to hate him,
yeah, he's not
right?
like offensive or anything. He's just all over his movies, and it's like either you like him or you don't. And uh, I know even in our group of friends, like Nick just is not on the Zack Snyder train.
Hmm.
But I think me and you mostly have liked him for a large portion of his career until maybe some of his
Yeah.
more recent stuff. But what's like your fondest Zack Snyder memory, like movie wise?
I mean, it's funny you say most of his career because his career isn't that long
It's not.
before he gets into Man of Steel,
That's true.
especially if you don't include just his animated film, Legends of the Guardians,
Yeah,
The Owls of Ga'Hoole.
yeah. Which
Oh,
I haven't actually
but
seen.
Yeah. So it's like he has a small career up until he turns into superhero directing. I mean, by far, I still defend and love the hell out of his adaptation of Watchmen.
Hmm.
I think that's him at like peak Schneider with like his visuals behind obviously one of the greatest stories ever told um, with that graphic novel. And I just think he did everything right there. A
Yeah.
lot of people somehow found beef in it, but I still will defend that to this day. It is an incredible movie.
Yeah. I feel like most people's beef is it's just not too different. Like it feels like it's the comic just put on screen, but it's like how else are you going to do
I'm
that
fine with
story?
that. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like and it is that, but it also is like overloaded with his like the things that make him kind of stand out as his own stylistic thing.
yeah,
Lots of slow motion, lots of
God,
muscular men, lots of beautiful
I'll
women. Like,
sometimes just turn on alone the opening credits.
oh
He always
yeah,
does credits well, of just the Bob Dylan song over all the like Minutemen superheroes. Yeah, I'll still go
mm-hmm.
back to that like scene and other scenes of
Yeah,
that film.
me too. Yeah, it's really great. Um, he's good at like music videos, like those opening scenes with
Yeah,
just music. Um,
he could direct the fuck out of some music videos
yeah, I think
for sure.
I think that is how he actually started. Like a
Really?
lot of directors, he did some,
That kind of makes a lot of sense if so.
yeah. But I think I've always loved Watchmen. Also, that's always been kind of
Hmm.
my go-to. I really like Dawn of the Dead. Last time I went back and watched it, it was a blast. Um,
Still holds up.
it holds up. It's not as like
Hmm.
breakthrough as it felt back then, but
Hmm.
I get why it felt so much fun because it is just a fun movie.
Yeah,
But honestly, like, man, this year for him, he's had a crazy year, and
I know.
Justice League is like up there with like one of my
It's weird
favorite.
to say it.
It is like that movie just works for some reason, and it's one of those movies where you can break down individual scenes that might not work that well, but just as a whole, like when you come out of it, you just like, especially I think nailing that third act. Like when you
Hmm.
come out of that movie, it just feels good and everything feels
How many
right.
blockbusters or how many superhero movies nail the third act?
Yeah, that's like
But
where everything falls apart normally.
I'm on the
So
same page. Like thinking back at Zack Snyder's career, like Justice League kind of stands out, especially with how ambitious and long and how many things could have gone wrong. It
yeah,
like that Schneider cut on HBO, like yeah, really impressive. I think
yeah,
that's up there in the top three.
yeah, same. But yeah, um, I mean, it'd be fun to have like Nick on this conversation just to hear like him
The opposing view.
bash, yeah, some Zack Snyder stuff. And he's
Yeah.
obviously not without his faults. He's like, I've always kind of compared him to, he's like a Michael Bay with more taste, or he's like
Yeah.
he does kind of a Michael Bay thing, but from a much more, he's trying to be artistic when he's doing it as opposed to just being like over the top in your face
Because
kind of.
he gets when he makes a movie, he's all over that movie.
Yeah.
And he directs the hell out of it, and you can tell it's his film, just like Michael Bay, except for he goes for like beauty in a lot of what he's doing
Mm-hmm.
amongst the action. As in Michael Bay just does action for action's sake, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Michael Bay likes to, he wants you to be impressed by like what he's able to pull off on in a given shot, like what's happening.
Hmm.
And Zack Snyder wants you to feel moved, but
Yeah.
but his go-to way to do that is like slow motion explosions and like,
This
yeah,
is a painting.
yeah,
Look at this beautiful painting.
yeah. But anyways, so that's Zack Snyder. So part of his big, I don't even know if it's like, I don't know how far he fell in the public eye with Man of Steel and BVS, but this kind of feels like a weird redemption arc where he got, to release the new version of his movie that he promised was better, and it turned out it was better. And
Hmm.
then right after that, he comes out with this other movie, Army of the
A
Dead.
month later, when did
Yeah,
you reviewed Justice League like on the show like a month ago, right?
yeah, yeah. It like was not long ago at all.
Hmm.
It was one of my last two episodes I was on. So, Um, yeah, and so now he comes out with Army of the Dead. It's getting mostly good reviews. I think people are kind of taking it for what it is. It's just kind of this
Mhm.
fun, over the top, bloody, violent zombie movie. And yeah, so that's the movie we're going to be reviewing. So let's just jump right into that. Uh,
What's it called?
Army of the Dead. It's directed by Zack Snyder, starring Dave Bautista, Anna de la Guerra, um, Ella Purnell, and Tig Notaro. The plot
Mm.
description is after a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble by venturing into the quarantine zone for the greatest heist ever. And this can be found on Netflix. This just came out. I think it's in theaters also. They had like a
Oh,
1 week theater window, and then it's also on Netflix now. So,
okay.
yeah. So my first impressions of the movie is that it's pretty harmless, dumb fun. Like it you don't want to think too hard about it. A lot of it doesn't really make sense. Um, but the stuff that works is the stuff that you want to work, which is, I think the zombie concept is really cool and unique and different, and I think they look cool, they sound cool, and the action when they're on the screen is really fun and exciting.
The gun fu.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Like it's there's some really impressive choreography. Like there's a couple moments where I was like, damn, like they wasn't expecting them to put so much thought into how cool it is to mow down zombies, but like they're really like going for it in some of these scenes.
Mhm.
Um, and I like that a lot. I think that worked really well. There's some weird things that the movie does, like I don't even know how to describe some of the scenes. We can get into them, but there's like weird teases for things that don't happen. In like,
Yes.
there's just weird stuff happens in this movie. We'll dig into those in a minute, but I think character wise, it's a mostly empty movie. I think it seems like they like felt like they were trying to get these big character moments, but none of them were really delivered properly, and it never really.
Melodrama isn't there,
Yeah,
and you could tell they're very much going for it at times because all of a sudden like pretty music comes on
yeah,
and like
yeah,
it slows down for a beat.
yeah.
It's
Zack
a little.
Snyder, he's so bad at subtlety. Like there's just none
Mhm.
of it ever. Um, but I think the actors are pretty good. Like I really enjoyed Dave Bautista, and
I did too.
yeah,
I enjoyed the hell out of Dave Bautista. I didn't think he had like a moment where I saw through his acting. Like I think he's a pure like A grade actor in that film.
yeah,
And I kept waiting to see like his holes or like what I saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I know he's been in a few things in between, but
yeah,
I thought maybe Guardian of the Galaxy was like too specific of a character where it just happened to work.
right,
But this, he's like a normal dude and everything works that he
mm-hmm.
tries.
Yeah,
His crying, his jokes, his seriousness, like it all works.
yeah. You totally buy it.
Hmm.
Um, I also really like Tig Notaro. I actually think she was probably the best character as far as like a well-rounded, like she made sense character.
Hmm.
Like, and a fun fact, she was added in post. Have you read about this?
I read a headline about that a week ago, and then I
Yeah,
kind of forgot. And then I saw some weird CGI where she looked like she was like just chilling in the frame, like cut out like a cardboard box.
yeah,
Obviously, it was CGI. And I was like, oh, yeah, I read an article about that. But also, this is the only time I can see the seams.
right. Yeah, it was surprisingly well done. Like you mostly when you could usually probably chalk that up to bad CGI in general, right? You wouldn't think like, oh, they did bad at replacing her in here. It's more like, oh, they put a bad background behind her or something like that. But they
So in
actually,
post, you mean like she was on green screen the entire time?
yeah, she never was on set with any actor.
Okay.
In
So I'm
fact,
guessing if you rewatch it, there's a lot of shots where like they're not in the same frame together. Most of them is like shot reverse shot.
there is, but also there's surprisingly a lot that she's totally just in there. It, from what I
Uh-huh.
understand, they filmed it with a different actor who has had some pretty big allegations against him, and so they cut him out of the movie completely,
Oh,
and then
the other
replaced her.
comedian.
Yeah, he's another comedian,
Oh, what's his name?
um, Chris D'Elia.
Yeah, Chris D'Elia. Okay.
Um,
This was his movie. Damn.
yeah, and so they had all the performances of the other actors acting opposite him, already. So then they just had her do her scenes and then plopped her in just on top of his character. Yeah. So
It's really fascinating.
yeah,
It definitely helps that everything is filmed with the most shallow depth of field
for sure.
imaginable. So
Yeah.
everything is already feathered and fuzzy. And so the animators and
Easiest like cut out,
effects artists just like easily put her in there and blended the
blur the
sides and it all looked
edges.
fine anyways. Like, yep.
Yeah. 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 The way this movie was shot is really
Hmm.
strange to me for large portions. Um, yeah, I don't.
It was very, very handheld, very like there was like a lot of like kaleidoscopy looking filters, but not real kaleidoscope, just like you saw a lot of glimmers of
Right.
light everywhere.
Yeah.
And then obviously the depth of field, I don't know if it was fake or real or probably a mixture of both at times, but like it was a very shallow depth of field movie
Yeah.
often.
He
It
shot
was
this
unique. It was
movie
fun.
too. Zack Snyder is actually the
Okay.
cinematographer on this film.
I can see that. There's a lot of stuff where it's like this is a dude with just camera on his shoulder
Yeah.
saying, "All right, go. All
Right.
right, now you go."
Yeah. Which must have been like, and that kind of feels like a good vibe for this movie, because this movie kind of feels like it's just a good time. It's just an excuse to make a zombie movie. Like,
Hmm.
um, there is some world building in the movie that is interesting. Like I think the concept is just, it's a cool concept. Like, what if there was a
Yeah,
zombie outbreak and we contained it? And it's all in Vegas. Like that's
yeah.
that's cool. And there's just like that Vegas is post apocalyptic, but nowhere else.
I
Um,
think this is the main like intro I was gonna say is like the overall idea of this movie is on paper is great. And it's not awful on execution, but like
yeah,
it is such a good like sales pitch of a movie. Like the contained Las Vegas zombie apocalypse. And on top of that, a whole separate ragtag group of people doing a normal bank heist inside the containment quarantine zone
yeah,
from an old vault that's been there for, ever since the outbreak happened with a lot of shit ton of cash in it.
yeah.
Like that's such a cool idea.
And it kind of makes sense too. Like, as outlandish of a concept as it is, like,
Yeah,
I
there would
could
be money in Vegas
there
left
would
there
probably
and
be
people would
people
want to
trying to
go
bring
get it.
it. Yeah, so like that makes sense to me. That all
Hmm.
checks out.
And I think that's such an awesome like and then really really cool is the like I think adding the atomic bomb on top of it,
Oh yeah,
whether
the
it's done
time.
well or not at the end, just like that concept of, and we're also just going to nuke the fuck out of Nevada because, we've done testing here before and Vegas is already gone.
Yeah,
Um, and then like making that happen in 24 hours. And it's just like a great idea to like, put a time box on your film and
yeah,
also have a big climax that
yeah,
is going to come.
yeah. All things working well towards driving this plot forward and keeping
Yeah,
like the tension and everything.
for sure. I
Um,
think in like overall, I think this movie is, kind of like painfully average in its ups and downs, and it
mhm.
just like evens out to just like a meh
Yeah,
film for me. And with such a great concept that I was on board for, I don't know if it lives up to any of those like original, sales pitch lines. Like I don't think the heist is interesting.
right.
Um, at one point they're even doing like an Indiana Jones like um style tomb raid of the vault and it's just kind of like random
Mm,
and not that interesting either. Uh the like Las Vegas concept of having to go into this like torn down post-apocalyptic city with zombies in it also I don't think really goes that far. Like it feels restricted on budget. Like they're kind of only in one spot on the outside in dirt and then the rest is like in hallways.
Yeah.
You know, they're not really using like rundown Vegas as a set to go through. You know, like I expected the movie to be like, here's the Bellagio, or
Right.
like, here's New York, New York. And I don't know, as they're like making their way, progressing towards where we know they need to go, like, um, it would have been cool to have used Vegas in what everyone knows it is,
Yeah.
um, inside the journey that the characters have to go on.
For sure.
Um, so like a lot of little things like that, I don't, or big things like that, I don't think it necessarily lives up to its premise, in many ways.
Yeah. I totally agree. Um, yeah, like Vegas is such a specific place and such like it has a character in everyone's head already. Like they
Hmm.
should have totally used that to their advantage for sure. But
Yeah.
and they kind of like build it up like they're gonna, and then they're like, okay, let's go
Yeah.
inside and not show anything else. Um, I there's like some really good. There's some cool. I like this movie's just full of ideas, and
Hmm.
along with that like outside Vegas thing that you're talking about, they have some really cool ideas that they set up, and they just never come back to. And you're like, okay, that was a cool idea. It would be cool if you like showed us it, but
Which ones?
like specifically one I'm thinking of is when they walk in, and there's like these mounds of zombies, and they're all dried up and dead, and the guy kind of
Oh,
or the girl I think explains, um, yeah,
if they
like
if it rains,
if
just
it
see what
rains they
happens.
come back, yeah, like you assume that means that they like they hydrate
I
enough to
was
start moving again. I was like, oh, that's
I was thinking like at some point
fascinating.
someone's gonna set off like a sprinkler alarm,
Yeah.
and like something would happen with that, or like they would pour water on some of the zombies to help them like do something or get escape somehow. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, some inadvertent thing that would set up, yeah, such a dangerous thing of all these zombies coming out. But
hmm.
yeah, they just never go back to it. They're just like, isn't that a cool idea? Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
really cool idea, and they just move on and never come back. So and it's kind
But
of
boy, that tiger comes back. It's just like a
oh yeah,
perfect. I don't know if it's perfect. It's an obvious bookend. It's like there's the tiger,
yeah,
and then it just like caps off a little ending piece
yeah,
out of nowhere as well.
yep. Yeah, you kind of feel like that's a Chekhov's gun thing, right? When the movie starts, you first see it, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like they really.
Okay.
That's how I felt at least. I kind of
We'll
figured that
see
was
that
coming.
15 minutes before the movie ends again.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
exactly. Um, so let's see other plot points that didn't work for me. I didn't get like the whole daughter thing. Like this movie like suffers from some of Zack Snyder's worst ambitions too, and it's like it's 2.5 hours long. First of all, and it's a zombie movie that like not a whole lot happens in. Just like
I
some cool
noticed
action and
I noticed scenes dragging.
yeah, me too.
Like no one told him that you already got the point across, nothing else is happening. Why are
Yeah,
we still in this like location or scene with these people?
yeah,
And in my head that happened over and over again, and I was like, you could have cut that 30 seconds earlier. You could have cut that 30 seconds
mm-hmm.
earlier. Would have felt way better.
Yeah. And he continually does this in most of his movies where it's like the scenes work and then you're like and that's it and then it just keeps going and then it starts to undo the things that they already did and you start losing us again, and
Mhm.
I felt like the daughter storyline in this movie felt like it could have been completely removed from start to finish. It would have no effect on any characters, no plot lines, nothing would have changed. They could just completely erase it. And I
Mhm.
know it's more that trying to get that drama, but it just comes off as this boring melodrama. And if they could work it into the story in a way that actually affected the group, besides besides it just being an inconvenience to them,
Yeah.
like it's literally just an annoyance to them,
Hmm.
and that is why it exists. And they spend probably a quarter of the plot or a quarter of the running time dealing with it,
Hmm.
and it's just a weird choice. It has no payoff either. Um,
Yeah, I want to talk more about that for sure at the end.
yeah. Um, what else? I think I think we mentioned the action was really well choreographed. I was really
Hmm.
surprised at like you mentioned like gun fu. There's some really cool moments where it like kind of sparks imagery in my head of just like the best times playing like different zombie games and stuff like that. Like just he has a knack for cool, like finding cool ways to film what's happening, and especially with just zombie carnage and big
Yeah.
Dave Bautista with a big gun, like just doing
And
cool stuff.
honestly, for me, it was one of the maybe it's halfway through the film, but it was one of the earlier fight scenes when the girl gets left behind for a
Oh
bit
yeah,
and she just starts going ape shit, like
immediately I was like,
soloing.
whoa, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
they draw it out too. Again, like he always draws everything out. It just keeps going and going, and she's just like
It's just
knifing and shooting
slaughtering
and knifing and
zombies.
shooting,
Yeah.
and gets kind of crazy.
Yeah. And then he undercuts that scene. You know, maybe it's just dragging it too long. But it's like it just like the ending of that scene didn't work for me. Like,
When she comes
she
out,
makes it back to the group, and then they all just leave her to die. You're
and
like,
then
what?
there's like three zombies
Why?
between them and her,
Yeah.
and
We.
she's already killed like 75,
Yeah.
and the 8 people looking at her can't help her kill 3 of them, and they're just like, we can't, no, leave her.
Leave her to die.
She's like totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bizarre. Bizarre choices.
There's a handful of those moments that were just kind of cringe where you're just like, like,
Yeah.
who's not questioning this?
Right. Yeah.
Like, someone on set should have just been like, we need more zombies around her to make this look believable
Yeah.
that these 8 mercenaries aren't saving her.
Yeah, because that's what it was. It was absolutely unbelievable. Like I didn't believe
Yeah.
a second of it. It was like pulled me completely out of the movie when that happened. It's like, what?
Yeah.
After that, you're gonna
Like,
now use that as the excuse for her death? What?
yeah. After what she just got out of.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. There's like, oh, is it Dave Bautista's like, I gotta like crack these glow in the dark sticks so you guys can find your
All
way.
right.
And they're all just like in a line in like medium lit hallway where they can all just see each other anyways.
Yeah.
Like you can't make us think it's pitch black or that they're gonna lose each other when everyone's within like an arm's reach of each other in a
Right.
normally
And
lit
we can
hallway.
see everything. Like
Yeah, we can
very
see
clearly.
everybody and everything. Like, imagine how cool that scene could have looked if it was lit like super dark and there was just little glow sticks everywhere. But like they decided just not to do that for some reason.
Yeah.
And it made the whole scene so cheesy and unbelievable when suddenly she's like, "Ooh, which way do I go?
Right.
Like I'm now gonna get on my knees and crawl under these zombies' legs because I'm so lost."
All right.
And I'm like, "You just saw them go to your left. Like, why aren't you following them?"
Obviously, Dave Batista did not squeeze through these zombies' legs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's a handful of those kind of moments, but it's like that happens, but then it's immediately like this awesome action scene. You just kind of forget it, and you're just like, God, this is really cool. And then that just happens pretty consistently, I think, throughout the whole movie, and
Hmm.
so it's definitely worth it for all those cool scenes. I definitely enjoyed large portions of the movie. It just sucks that it's constantly being undercut by these so dumb scenes. Like they're just so
Hmm.
dumb. I don't think there's really any part of the movie that I felt like, oh, that was really smart of them to do this. I don't think I had that reaction once.
Yes, it suffers from like not clever character syndrome
Yeah.
of you're just seeing characters kind of do basic things to get to their goal, and none of it is like written in a way that's surprising to you
Yeah.
or that shows a plot twist or that like shows that much creativity. Yeah, all of our characters just kind of walk up to a vault, get the money, and then like shoot their guns and walk out.
Yeah.
And yeah, when they're shooting their guns, there's some action happening, but like there's no intricacy in the journey
Hmm.
or in the way they need to like find out how to get to the end goal, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know exactly what they could have done to solve that. I don't know if it's like maybe have a more complex heist, but I guess it's
Yeah, then
hard.
just a vault chilling there.
Yeah, it's just like go to the vault and open it and then leave. It's like the hard part is just cracking the safe, but like there's nothing interesting to do with that shot wise. So it's like we just
Hmm.
get there and hang out, and then they open it, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just kind of a lack of
And
creativity in the plot
it's that
story.
like it's just that thing you have in those extra movies like Green Room or it's not Hush, it's the
Don't Breathe.
where you have to be Don't Breathe,
Yeah.
where it's just like every scene your characters are doing something interesting and like thinking their way out of these little scenarios over and over again.
Yeah.
And that like almost doesn't even happen once in this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. Um,
In this film, Tig is like, "Oh, the engine's on fire. Give me another like half hour and I'll fix it." And then just
yeah.
cuts back in a half hour and she just fixes it, I guess.
Yeah. It's just good job.
Yeah, good job, Tig. Like you really thought your way through that one.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of the general feel throughout the whole movie. I think that's it. It lacks that intricacy that, especially if you're gonna do
Hmm.
a heist movie, like they're known for their intricacies, so it stands out even more by how bland and uncreative the heist
Yeah,
itself is.
that's a good point. It's set up to be this blending of genres to an
Yeah.
extreme. Like putting together that team, that is like the most straightforward heisty
Mm-hmm.
shot thing in the whole movie. And then they kind of like drop the ball on coming up with an interesting heist, which is what heist movies have to be.
Right. It
And they just
is,
decide not to do that.
and the idea is interesting, like breaking
Oh,
in
right.
there,
Yeah.
but
You're right. On the highest level.
right, but the execution, yeah. Um, oh, and we never talked about there's like a zombie hierarchy kind of thing too,
Mm,
which is
okay.
also I think is really cool.
It's
Um,
unique.
yeah, in kind of like a B movie way. It's like, there's like the lore, there's like I think they call them alpha zombies, and they're like badass, like they're just like a normal human pretty much, but they're zombies, so they still like have emotions and they still can do everything, run, fight, but they're also a zombie. They're undead, so you gotta shoot them in the head, kill them. So they're
Hmm.
even scarier than like a human would be. But then there's also kind of like this gray area where it's like just some of the zombies like know karate and like there's like uh Batista
Yeah.
has a throwdown with this like really hip zombie that's like dodging all his swings, and like they do a little wrestling section, and it's it's kind of
And
weird
some of them
because
still kind of just go down just as easily as any of the other zombies.
yeah, some
Like
of
they
those
just
like
kind of mow them
alpha
down.
ones like get mowed down
Yeah,
and
at the
nothing
then
happens.
the in the final like climax, there's like and like
Yeah,
8 of them die in a second,
yeah.
just like they're normal guys. So yeah, I was kind of confused on like um, the difference between them a little bit.
Do
I
we
guess
want to get
besides speed.
into some of the weird spoilery like Easter eggy like
Yeah, let's move
stuff
on to
that's in this movie?
spoilers. Then we'll
Yeah.
wrap up with the ending stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah. So while we're talking about, all right, so spoilers from here on out.
Spoilers.
Yeah, they're not huge spoilers in this movie, but if some of the weird surprises that happen in the movie you don't want spoiled, then I would watch it and come back. Uh, so specifically, while we're talking about zombies,
Zombie baby.
uh, zombie bait. Oh yeah, there was a zombie fetus, right? Is that what you're talking
Zombie
about?
fetus.
Yeah, there's a zombie
That was
fetus.
that was
Um,
pretty gross
and
and interesting.
it was weird, like the detail put in there, like it was blue and like turned red as it like came out of her body and stuff like that. I'm guessing that's
There
like,
was some weird CGI going on with
yeah.
when those zombies died. I don't know why he needed to
So
do that.
there's, it's been confirmed. There's robot zombies. Did you notice the robot zombies?
Yes, I saw
I
that and
saw it
I
a
was
couple
just like,
times. I was like,
huh?
what was that? Why was that? And then yeah,
I forgot.
he's like brought it up in interviews, like just laughing. He's like, yeah, robot zombies. It's like, what? How does that
Just to fuck
even?
with people?
I guess I don't know. Like it's just like there's robot
Well, obviously
zombies.
there's a sequel if that engine showed you anything.
You're right. Like it definitely feels like he's trying to get a sequel out of it, and he probably will. It's Netflix, and he's a pretty um, hot topic director right now. So I
Mhm.
could easily see this movie getting a sequel. There's also like a whole section where they find these like bodies that are all wearing the same clothes as them. You remember that? And the guy starts like talking about, he's like, maybe we're in a time loop. and those were. Do you remember that scene? It
Wait,
shows a zombie with like Dave Bautista's scarf, and then it shows like Dave Bautista. He's like wearing the same clothes as the zombie, and he goes through each character and shows a dead zombie on the ground in the vault that's dressed like
you're
them.
blowing my mind. I
This,
didn't. You know what? I stood up at one point to go to the bathroom,
yeah,
and I always pause the movie, but for
yeah.
some reason, I didn't pause the movie
Oh
because
no,
I was like, it's chill. The
yeah,
remote's on the like out of arm reach, and I just went to go pee, and maybe that's
yeah.
was that exact moment. Are you serious? That sounds
I'm dead
fucking
serious.
weird.
It's so weird, and
Yeah.
like I think it really feels like the tone and everything. I think that it's just pure fun, like just
Hmm.
having fun with people, messing with people, and like that's what it feels like to me. Like robot zombies, like absolutely don't think about that. It doesn't make any sense, and there's nothing else to look into. Like yeah, some of the zombies were robots. That's it. Yeah, they had
Yeah.
some weird like theory about a time loop, but that there's nothing else there. It's just fun. Talk about it, but yeah, there's nothing there. That's kind of what a lot of
Interesting.
those things felt like. And there's just like because there's stuff in there that just don't. There's no reason. I can't think of. I can't even imagine an idea of why they'd be in there if it wasn't just like for the sake of
Yeah,
like we
like
got
when
some
some of
money,
them
we're
get shot
having
in the
fun.
head, there's some like blue CGI particle effects that like
Yeah,
sprinkle in the air,
there's some weird stuff
like
like
magic.
the the main zombie guy like wears a cape and like
Hmm.
Tignatar even calls it out. She's like, "Does that zombie have a cape?" And like
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. Why does what? He's like a I don't know. It's weird. They just have I think they're just having a lot of fun. And he's
Hmm.
like, wouldn't that be funny if like when he shot that zombie, it was a robot. And people would freak out when they saw that. And like, I think that's what a lot of that stuff is. So
Okay. Interesting.
with that, it makes me feel like the whole movie's kind of like it's just joy. It's just like it's we're here to just have
Just a ride.
fun and just watch zombies get murdered and that stuff is what works the best with the movie too. I think all the zombie
Hmm.
action scenes are just they're just fun and we get to explore this unique concept. It'd be cool if it was just told a lot better. That's where it's really lacking. And so coming into the ending, like we're wrapping up
Yeah.
all these
The post.
plots
I'm
and
curious what you thought about the like, the final daughter father moment. Like
yeah.
I thought he tried so hard to have his huge casting crew like all die,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know if it got us anything. Like, yeah, everyone was in it for the money, so I guess they all deserve to die,
Right.
except for her. She went in there to save a friend, but the friend didn't even survive. But I guess she's the most virtuous person who went in, so she gets to
Right.
live. But also, like, she's also kind of an idiot,
Yeah.
and she kind of got her father killed.
Yeah.
Um,
She
and I
absolutely
don't like,
did. Him and Tig
yeah,
Notaro. Like they would have been long gone and
yeah,
way out of the nukes radius.
yeah. And like, and the friend died too. I'm just like,
Yeah.
why wasn't the friend alive?
Well, even worse,
And
they didn't even show the friend die. You just know she was in the helicopter when it crashed. They never went back and showed you anything.
yeah, that's
It's
true.
just
You
like,
never even saw. I was just like, of course she's dead.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I kind of really wish it honestly would have worked better. Everything, his whole speech, if he hadn't been bitten. Like, I wish he was sitting there, like, almost bloodied to the point of death, but still hanging on,
Yeah.
and brought up the lobster roll thing, but it was like real, like it was
Yeah.
going to work out for them. And I like thought that was the direction they were going to go for until, um, it was certain he was bitten.
Yeah.
And yeah, once he was bitten, I was just like, all right, cool. You're doing like, is it edgy to have? I mean, it's not edgy, or maybe it's just typical. Like you always want in an elimination movie, everyone to get eliminated.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I didn't think it was the most interesting choice.
Yeah. It didn't really work for me. I'm not really sure what they were going for with it.
Hmm.
um, and yeah, there's just you know going with everything that happens in this movie. There's just so many more creative ways they could have gone about. It was a pretty like straightforward ending.
Hmm.
It's like the dad died saving his daughter. and but you didn't care about anyone anyways, so it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
And no one succeeded at anything they tried to do. Yeah, I don't really know. That was just kind of a dud for me. That whole
Yeah.
ending there. Um, there was a cool moment, like he captured just like a shot that clicked. Everything kind of clicked for me for like 10 seconds, and then it went back. But it's when they're flying out, and the zombies on the helicopter with them and everything, and it kind of goes slow motion. And Tig Notaro's watching like the nuke fly over their head,
Hmm.
and it's like the weight of everything kind of hit me right there. But then immediately they lose it right after that.
Hmm.
But
I agree. Like actually that chaotic helicopter sequence with the zombie in the helicopter like was
yeah,
doing it for me.
yeah,
And like them zipping through Vegas and like almost crashing and
her getting shot and like still
hmm.
trying to pull through to get him out of there and stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just kind of disappointing. But so that's the. Does it cut to
Ending number
credits?
one.
Does it cut to credits there?
No.
Okay, just like cuts to black, I think, right? And then it
Hmm.
opens back up in the fallout of the nuke in Vegas. And and one of the
Stepping out onto a nuclear
radioactive.
radioactive bomb site an hour later. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We've all seen Chernobyl at this point. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
You can, yeah, they should have just said it was a big bomb. I don't know why it had to be nuclear.
yeah,
Like, if they wanted that to work, they could have made it work.
yeah. Or they could have done something cool. I guess with the what they're doing with that character. I was gonna say I thought it'd be cool if it was like some sort of inside man thing where like the sequel was he'd been in there the whole time. He'd like found food and stuff and survived, and like they had gone through to start cleaning up the waste and stuff or something. But
Yeah.
uh, and that'd be like the sequel starts off right there. That's what I would see. But
Oh, such a better idea, Derek. And
yeah,
he's a zombie locked in that vault.
yeah. Um,
Oh, that's
but
like a perfectly believable, awesome thing. Like they could have just showed like a year later excavating Vegas
yeah.
and they open up a vault. Oh my God, Derek, you should have written that for them. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. But what did happen instead, right, is he leaves, he goes to like the closest airport and just like throws a bunch of money at an airplane, and they throw him on an airplane to Mexico
New
and
Mexico.
New Mexico. That was
Hmm.
Mexico City.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Um, and yeah, it's kind of just a weird scene because you don't really know. I actually enjoyed the scene. I thought it was fine, but you don't really know like was he bit or not. You're not 100% sure what's going on if they're like where this post credit thing or not post credit, but like this post movie like extra scene is going. But then it reveals that yeah he has like a zombie bite and he's headed to Mexico City. So you assume that that's kind of how the
The next movie will
leading
start
into a
outbreak there.
sequel. Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah,
Yeah. Did you like it? Good ending
I don't
on that
know.
front.
I mean, the scene was fine. I don't. It was probably a better ending than the other ending,
Okay.
but it doesn't wrap any. It doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
just like it's a tease. So
Yeah.
it didn't serve the movie in any way. It was just kind of a little preview of what they want to do with the sequel. So I don't know. The movie's a mess, but it's a fun mess and very much like Zack Snyder's kind of brand. And I think if you like the stuff that he's been doing for a while, I think you'll have a lot of fun. You'll probably have more fun with this movie than a lot of the stuff he's been doing lately. So,
I think this movie also got probably better reviews from the fact that it's on Netflix and
oh yeah,
like just a much more casual watch.
yeah,
I think that's helping this movie a little bit.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, and it's a big movie with big stars and like a big name director that you can watch for free at home right now. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of a no
Pretty
brainer.
unique.
Yeah. So I think everyone should give it a watch, especially if you like Zack Snyder. There's no downside to it. You're just gonna see some awesome zombie action. and then and turn your brain off for a little while and forget about how crazy things are right now. So that's Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. It's available on Netflix in some theaters right now as well. Next week we're gonna be Nick is gonna be hosting, and he's gonna review A Quiet Place 2.
Ooh, big one. Big
Yeah,
one.
this movie's been, it was ready to release. I think it was coming out the week that everything shut down.
Wow.
And I actually just listened to an interview with Emily Blunt, and she was talking about like that week leading up to the release because they were doing all their press, and John Krasinski was like, "We're not releasing the movie," but they like had to do the press still because they couldn't announce it until like it was official, and they were really pressing to get the movie out. And he was the one that kind of like pulled the plug and was like, "We're not
Mm.
doing it. There's no way we're releasing this movie." And so now we're over a year later, I think, right?
Way over a
And
year.
this movie's finally coming out, and it's kind of, it feels like a really good post pandemic like movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a, it's a following up a pretty successful first movie,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's about a kind of weird, apocalyptic world, and trying to reconnect with people. So I think it'll be a cool, fun horror blast.
I'm
And I'm
excited to see it in
excited for it.
theaters.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, with that, we'll wrap it up. If you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe to our channel. You can also find us on Spotify, Monthly Movie Dispatch. Yeah, that's it. We'll
That's
talk
it.
to you later.
See you next Tuesday.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.